Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The first time I saw the message, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. A single line flashed across the lock screen of my husband's phone as it buzzed beside the sink. Can't stop thinking about last night. The sender's name was saved as L. Carter. My stomach tightened. I knew the name, Ms. Lydia Carter, our daughter's English teacher. At first, I laughed softly to myself, more disbelief than amusement. Last night? Maybe it was about tutoring. My husband Daniel had been volunteering to mentor a struggling student, a program run by the local high school. He'd mentioned working late with Lydia before. Said she was young, fresh out of grad school, overwhelmed by her first year teaching. He wanted to help her find her footing. I told myself not to overthink it. I'd always trusted Daniel. 15 years of marriage, a daughter in middle school, and a house full of memories. Surely I wasn't the kind of woman who jumped to wild conclusions over a text. Still, something about the phrasing gnawed at me. The way it pulsed on the screen, teasing me with unspoken meaning. I wiped my hands on a towel and stared at the phone again. I didn't open it. Not yet. Instead I called out, "Daniel? You left your phone in the kitchen." He appeared in the doorway a moment later, hair damp from the shower, tie half knotted. "Thanks, honey," he said, smiling, reaching for it. His eyes flicked briefly to the screen, then away. "Everything okay?" I nodded, pretending not to notice how quickly he turned the phone face down. That was the first crack. The next few weeks were filled with subtle fractures that only I seemed to see. He started dressing sharper, suddenly interested in cologne again, the same scent he used when we first met. His phone, once left casually on countertops, now lived in his pocket or face down beside him. He answered messages in the garage, claiming poor signal inside. Our daughter Emma adored Miss Carter. She talked about her constantly, how Miss C encouraged her writing, how she stayed after class to help with essays. When I asked Daniel about her, he'd smile in that distracted way. "She's ambitious," he'd say. "Reminds me of myself when I started teaching, mentoring, helping." The words began to taste like metal on my tongue. It was a Friday evening when the dam finally cracked. Daniel was mentoring again. He left around 7, promising he wouldn't be late. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft scratching of Emma's pencil as she did her homework. I decided to clean the study, a mindless task to keep my thoughts from spiraling. When I reached under the desk to collect dust, I found a crumpled receipt. A wine bar downtown. 2 glasses of Cabernet. 1 dessert. Paid 2 nights ago. Not exactly the kind of meeting for educational mentoring. My pulse roared in my ears. I didn't call him. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. Instead I waited. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, staring at the clock as the minutes bled into hours. At 11:47 p.m., the door opened quietly. Daniel froze when he saw me awake. "You're up," he said, voice too casual. "Yeah." My voice sounded calm, even though my chest felt like it was caving in. "How was your mentoring session?" He blinked, swallowed hard. "Good. Productive. Lydia's catching on." I said nothing. Just watched him remove his shoes, his fingers trembling slightly. Then I stood and handed him the receipt. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. "Where did you find that?" he asked, his tone careful, almost rehearsed. "In your study." He rubbed his temples, exhaling. "It's not what you think, Claire." Lydia was upset, overwhelmed. I took her out for a drink to calm her down. She's young, emotional. She needed advice. "Advice?" I repeated, my voice cracking. "And dessert." She insisted on paying. I didn't want to embarrass her. The excuses felt thin, translucent. I could see the guilt behind his eyes, like something trapped beneath glass, clawing to stay hidden. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake beside him, listening to his steady breathing, wondering how much of our life was already a lie. 2 days later I decided to confront Lydia. I arrived at the school during lunch hours, pretending it was about Emma's grades. She greeted me with a polite smile, her eyes wide behind wire-rimmed glasses. She couldn't have been more than 25. "Mrs. Hill, hi. Emma's doing wonderfully." Her voice trembled slightly, or maybe I wanted to believe it did. I looked around her classroom, Bright posters, neat handwriting on the whiteboard, the faint smell of coffee. Everything seemed too ordinary to contain what I suspected. "I just wanted to thank you," I said softly, "for taking the time to let my husband mentor you." The color drained from her face. "Oh," she stammered, glancing down. "Yes, Mr. Hill's been very helpful." Something inside me snapped. "Helpful how exactly?" She froze, her lips parting, eyes darting to the door. "Mrs. Hill, I don't think this is appropriate." I stepped closer, my hands shaking. "Neither is sleeping with a married man." Her shoulders slumped. The silence was an answer. I left before she could speak another word. Daniel didn't deny it when I confronted him that evening. He sat at the edge of the bed, head in his hands. "It just happened," he whispered. "I didn't plan it. I was trying to help her. She reminded me of us when we were younger. The passion, the energy. I felt alive again." Alive. The word cut deeper than any confession. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Do you have any idea what this does to Emma?" "To me. I ended it," he said desperately. "I swear. It meant nothing." "Then why does it feel like everything?" I whispered. He had no answer. A week later, the school board announced Lydia's resignation. "Personal reasons," the email said. Emma cried for days, blaming herself for something she didn't understand. Daniel moved into the guest room. Every night, I heard him crying quietly when he thought I was asleep. And every night I wanted to hate him, but part of me couldn't. That was the cruelest part of betrayal. It didn't erase love, it poisoned it. 3 months passed before the truth twisted again. I was packing old files when I found a sealed envelope in Daniel's handwriting. Inside was a letter, dated 2 weeks before everything unraveled. It read, "Lydia, I can't do this anymore. Claire and Emma are my world. I was selfish and stupid, and you deserve someone who isn't broken by guilt. Please don't contact me again." My chest tightened. For a moment I felt the faintest flicker of pity. For him, for her. For the wreckage we all stood in. He had tried to end it. But endings, I realized, don't always come when we choose them. That night, I walked into the guest room and sat beside him. "Daniel," I said quietly, "I found your letter." He looked up, tears already gathering. "I never wanted to lose you." I nodded slowly. "You already did." And then, without another word, I left the room, closing the door softly behind me, like the quiet end of a love that had once felt infinite.